We live our lives under the comforting delusion of stability. We perceive the world as a sequence of logical events governed by laws that are as invisible as they are absolute. We trust that the bridge will hold, that the medicine will heal, and that the sun will rise in a sky governed by predictable orbits. We believe we are the masters of our environment because we have learned to speak its language, but we have forgotten that this language is not our own. It is the language of mathematics. From the curvature of space-time to the rhythmic beating of a human heart, every facet of existence is a slave to numerical logic. We have built our skyscrapers, our digital empires, and our very understanding of self on a scaffold of numbers. But what happens when the scaffold is removed? What happens when the operating system of the universe suffers a total irrecoverable crash? This is not a thought experiment about a world without calculators. This is a clinical report on the liquidation of reality. This is the death of logic. Welcome to Discovered. To understand the magnitude of this threat, we must first confront the terrifying truth of what mathematics actually is. It is not merely a subject taught in classrooms. It is the fundamental code of the universe. It is the invisible architecture that prevents the stars from drifting apart and the atoms in your body from dissolving into a chaotic soup. Our entire reality is a computed state. If the concepts of sequence, ratio, and quantity were to vanish, the physical laws of the universe would lose their anchor. Imagine waking up to a world where logic has been deleted. You glance at your phone, but there is no time. Not because the clock is broken, but because the very concept of intervals has ceased to exist. Your screen becomes a blinding, incoherent static. Every pixel on that screen is the result of an RGB mathematical code. Without it, the screen loses its ability to represent form. This is the first stage of the Great Blank. It is the moment the digital world, the collective memory of our species, is wiped clean in a nanosecond. But even the word nanosecond is now a ghost. Without math, there is no measurement of time. There is only a terrifying eternal now where causality has been severed. The technological collapse would be the most immediate and brutal phase of our erasure. Our civilization is a high-maintenance machine that requires constant mathematical oversight. Our power grids, water treatment plants, and communication networks are governed by algorithms, mathematical recipes that manage flow and pressure. If math vanishes, the valves do not just stop, they lose the logic of their own operation. Nuclear reactors, which rely on the precise calculation of neutron flux and cooling ratios, would enter a state of uncalculated criticality. They would enter a chaotic thermal loop that defies containment. Every automated system on the planet would become a dormant bomb. We must then look at the economic void. Money is the ultimate mathematical abstraction. It is a symbol of value based entirely on ratios and quantities. If the concept of number vanishes, the global economy does not just crash, it evaporates. Logistics, the science of moving food and medicine to 8 billion people, is a mathematical masterpiece. Without it, the ships stop in the ocean and the trucks sit idle on the highways. The just-in-time supply chain is a mathematical ghost. We would be left with no way to distribute the calories needed for survival. This is not a return to the Stone Age. It is a descent into a pre-logical abyss. But the dark reality goes deeper than the failure of our machines. Our understanding of the physical world is built on universal constants. The speed of light and the gravitational constant are the numbers that define the limits of what is possible. If mathematics vanishes, these constants become variables. If the ratio of the circle's circumference to its diameter, the number we call pi, were to shift, the geometry of the universe would buckle. Your own body relies on the mathematical consistency of electromagnetism to hold its cells together. Without the math of atomic bonding, your physical form would not just die. It would drift apart into a cloud of unorganized matter. We are creatures of measurement. Without it, we are nothing. The biological dissolution would be the most visceral horror. DNA is a coded sequence of base pairs that functions as a biological program. It relies on the logic of base pairs and the mathematical precision of protein folding. If the logic of the code fails, the program crashes. The cells in your body would stop receiving the mathematical instructions required to repair or produce energy. We would witness a planetary-scale biological failure. Plants would lose the ability to perform photosynthesis as the mathematical ratios of light absorption drift into incoherence. Every living thing on Earth would become a zombie organism, a physical shell with a crashed operating system, waiting for the final, inevitable decay of its own matter. Then, there is the psychological entropy. Human beings are defined by our ability to perceive patterns and sequences. We understand the world through more and less, high and low. If we lose the concept of math, we lose our grip on sanity. Imagine trying to think when the concept of sequence is gone. You cannot form a sentence because a sentence requires a logical order of words. You cannot remember a past because the past is a measurement of time. You would be trapped in a state of deep cognitive static. We would be reduced to raw, animalistic impulse, but even those impulses are governed by the math of neurology. We would be ghosts in a machine that is tearing itself apart. Some may hold on to the hope that humans would simply reinvent counting. But this is the height of human arrogance. To reinvent math, you need a brain that functions logically. If the very concept of logic has been deleted from the universe, there is no foundation upon which to build. You cannot reinvent addition if the concept of two no longer exists in the fabric of reality. We are not the creators of logic. We are its beneficiaries. We are the inhabitants of a house of cards, and we have finally reached the end of the deck. In physics, chaos is the extreme sensitivity to initial conditions. But in a world without math, there are no conditions. There is only total, absolute entropy. The atmosphere would lose the mathematical constraints that govern pressure and temperature. The air would become a chaotic fluid that no longer follows the laws of thermodynamics. GPS satellites would drift out of orbit as the mathematical grip of gravity fails to provide a consistent path. Every coordinate would be a lie because space itself would have lost its grid. We must also confront the importance of zero. Zero is the balanced punto, the placeholder. Without zero there is no nothing, and without nothing there can be no something. If math calls in sick, the zero doesn't just get laid off. The void it represents swallows everything else. We would find ourselves in a world where the structural limit of what can exist is gone. The golden ratio in hurricanes and the fractals in nature are the geometric proof of an organized universe. Without that organization, there is only the void. We are currently witnessing the first flickers of this great blank, as we become more dependent on black box algorithms and AI systems whose internal math we no longer understand. We are effectively delegating our reality to a machine. We are standing on the edge of a digital cliff, and we have no idea how deep the fall is. The abyss is not a place of fire. It is a place of total, silent incoherence. It is the sound of a universe that has forgotten how to count. This realization of our total dependence on an invisible code is a final warning. We are a species that has mistaken the map for the territory. We thought we owned the numbers, but the numbers own us. When the ratio is gone, the structure collapses. The floor is thinner than you think. The digital digits that you use to measure your life, your bank balance, your likes, your 5 more minutes of sleep are the only things keeping the abyss at bay. When the plug is pulled, chaos will become the only reality. You are a collection of sequences, a series of probabilities, a biological algorithm, and the program is about to end. If you are prepared to face the truths that the world chooses to ignore, stay with us. There are many more scientific anomalies and mathematical horrors waiting to be unburied. We will continue to explore the truths that have been hidden in the shadows of our logic and the depths of our limitations. Subscribe to Discovered and activate the notification bell. In a world of comfortable delusions and absurd what-ifs, we provide the cold, clinical evidence of reality. Do not miss our next report, where we will examine the next impossible scenario that threatens the very definition of humanity. See you in the next investigation. Remember, the numbers are watching and the end is exactly 1 second away. Keep counting while you still can.